Here's the Panasonic UX180. In the Panasonic UX180, I think I have found my favorite 4K camcorder of the past few years. It is July 2018, and this camcorder, even though it wasn't released this year, has been amazing for my style of productions. In this video, I'm going to talk about 4 things that I really love about this camcorder, and then 4 things I don't like about the camera, although they're nitpicky. I just want to say that my style of productions are event video, documentary, fitness, corporate work, and very rarely weddings. So if you're on regular narrative shoots, you're trying to make a short film, or you're trying to do a music video, those kinds of productions that involve a lot of care with lighting and visual effects, I wouldn't use this camcorder. This is not the tool to use. This is more for the run and gun, the documentary, where you don't have a lot of time to set things up and you have to move in and out, and you don't have a focus puller, you don't have a big crew, a one-man band or one-woman band. This is the camera I would recommend. And now on to my list. The first thing I like about this camera is the body design, handling, and usability. Here's a size comparison with one of my other favorite cameras, the Canon Xf 200. This is probably my favorite HD camcorder. And it's the best body design I've ever used in a camcorder. I've said this in other videos. And it's the perfect size, in my opinion, for run and gun, for handheld. And this rotatable grip is a brilliant design that I wish manufacturers would bring back, but they don't. In camcorders, that is. And here it is compared to the UX180. You can see the UX180 is bigger than the Xf 200. Mostly this lens hood, which is going to be one of my complaints, but the camera itself, if I remove the lens hood, is about the same length, maybe, as the Xf 200, but it's wider, and it's got this bigger area right here for one of the XLRs and for the LCD. Lens cap is built into the lens hood. This is a 67mm thread mount. You could thread ND filters, polarizers if you want, although there are ND filters built into the camera. From this side, you have 3 rings for your focus, your zoom, and your aperture. You have all of these manual control buttons. That is a godsend when you're out and about and you're trying to change settings on the fly. And each of these buttons, the placement of it and the feel and the texture of it, they're all slightly different. So once you get used to where these buttons are, you could change settings without even looking at it. Dual SD card slot. You have 1/4-20 and 3/8. The camera comes with this battery right here, but you can purchase larger batteries. The official Panasonic larger battery is quite expensive, but I got this third-party one. This is a Castar, and it's been pretty good. It's been okay for what I've used it for. The benefit about these newer batteries is that when you push the button in the back, they come with a battery indicator. And the great thing of the whole design here is that since it's open, you can access it like this. On the DVX200, a camera that I've used but I did not like, the battery compartment was locked and protected. So you would slide in the battery and you wouldn't be able to being able to check the indicator. This is a better design. It comes with the EVF cup, but I removed it because I don't need it. Back here you have USB 3.0 to dump footage, HDMI, SDI, HD-SDI, time code in and out, all of your focus, iris, your remote control settings here. You also have an AV out, so regular standard definition if you needed it. Headphone jack is up here. The wall power is up there. You have one XLR here in the back, one XLR in the front. There is a boom shotgun holder mount that I removed because I don't use it. This grip is really nice. On the handle itself, you have 2 1/4-20s, 2 3/8. They go all the way through the handle. You can have a lot of things up here, and it's very sturdy. They're metal in here, not plastic. One of the things I like is the time code and counter reset, which not a lot of other camcorders have. And I like that when I'm recording, doing a lot of small clips, I can just hit and reset the time code so it goes back to 0. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, you'll appreciate it too. Has a stereo microphone on the top and the flip out LCD screen. The way I hold this camera when I'm shooting handheld, and this is the reason why I really like this body design, is that I have my hand here, then I have this part either against my shoulder or I can rest it on my shoulder, and then with my left hand, I grab the lens where I can access the aperture, the zoom, and the focus if I'm shooting manual focus. One of the benefits of a large lens hood is that you can actually hold the lens hood as another point of contact. So I have resting my shoulder here, hand on this side in the grip, and I'm holding the lens and the hood. I have the LCD screen out, it's right in front of my face, 3 points of contact, very sturdy, run and gun, shoot all day, no fatigue. The camera without the battery is about 4.4 pounds. The second thing I like about this camera is the lens. This is a 24mm to 480mm zoom lens. It goes from a 2.8 at the wide angle all the way to a 4.5. The 4.5, it is in low light, not as good, but if you shoot during the day with the 1-inch sensor, it's okay. It's not a factor at all. And it's not that bad in low light compared to, say, the X1000, which is a few generations before this. That was terrible in low light because it had a smaller sensor. This 1-inch sensor, I would say it's a little better than the FZ2500 in low light. So the benefit with the 24 to 480 is that when you're shooting 4K, it stays at 24mm. If you were to get the younger brother of this, which is the UX180, it crops in from an HD to 4K. So in some cameras, you shoot HD, it's a wider focal range, and then when you switch over to 4K, it crops into the sensor. This does not do that. So the focal range that you get from the 4K is the exact same that you get from the HD. The third thing I like about this camera are the codecs and frame rates. You have a lot of choices here. Panasonic gives you almost everything with this camera. It's PAL and NTSC switchable, so it's a world camera. You get MOV, MP4, AVC HD from 480p all the way up to DCI 4K. In HD, you can shoot up to 200 megabits. With UHD and DCI 4K, you can shoot up to 100 megabits. With UHD 60p, it's actually 150 megabits. Unfortunately, all the codecs are 420 8-bit. That's one of the drawbacks that I'll get into later, but it's internal 420 8-bit. You get multiple outputs. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the HDMI. It's a full HDMI, and you get a 422 8-bit output at UHD quality, not 10-bit. And on the side, you have your HD-SDI, which is limited to 1080 60p out. With the frame rates, you have your standard 23.98 all the way up to 60p, and then you have your PAL settings, your 25p and your 50p. You also get variable frame rate recording that starts from like 2 frames a second. You can go 10 frames, 22 frames, those weird frames. You also have super slow motion in HD up to 120p, 120 frames. You can also do slow shutter, which is putting the shutter speed below 1/30th of a shutter. Not a lot of other cameras can go below 130, this one can. And last, you have interval recording, which is time-lapse. The fourth thing I like about this camera is the timecode in and out. In the past, timecode in-out was reserved for the higher-end camcorders, not for cameras sub 3000. But now it's in this one. You can connect multiple UX180 cameras together, syncing them with timecode, or if you have an external recorder deck that has timecode in and out, you can jam sync it either way, in and out. And with timecode sync, you don't have to rely on clap slates necessarily, or clapping it, literally clapping it if you're doing the old school way. You have timecode sync, so professional, very easy in post. Now here are 4 things that I criticize about this camera. The first thing is the LCD screen right here. Now this LCD screen, as you can even see from this video, it's highly reflective. So outdoors, you could barely see this screen. You're gonna need to purchase a little hood for yourself or drape your whole head under a blanket to cover the spill, the light spill, where you can't even see the LCD screen. I would say this is pretty terrible, actually. The contrast isn't very good. It's not that bright, and it's overall hard to see the clarity of the focus and everything. The picture just looks awful straight off the LCD screen, and the EVF is no better. It's a touch screen though, and if you want, it's a touch to focus as well, so you can touch things and work the camera through the touch screen. That's all great, but the resolution of the screen, the quality, much to be desired. The second thing I don't like about this camera is that there's no 10-bit option. There's also no Vlog L. The GH5, GH5S, you have a Vlog L option. GH5S comes with Vlog built in. Even the FC2500, you can purchase an optional Vlog L addition to the picture profiles. With this camera, no Vlog L and no 10-bit, which to me goes hand in hand, because shooting Vlog L in 8-bit is very bad. I've done that in the past, and it was my mistake. You need a 10-bit to really shoot Vlog L well. But no 10-bit even in the HD-SDI and the HDMI out. That's a bummer. The third thing I don't like about this camera is that there's no 3.5mm audio jack. You have your XLR there and XLR there, but no 3.5mm inputs at all in the camera. So you would need to get a XLR to 3.5mm jack adapter in order to plug in, say, a Video Mic Pro, which I have, and I have a couple other shotgun mics that are 3.5mm only. Not a big deal, but it's kind of annoying. And the fourth thing I don't like about this camera is this large lens hood. To me, it's a little large for this camera, but the wide angle is 24mm, so I could understand why they would make a lens hood this big in order to stop the lens flare. But this is a large lens hood, and when I'm transporting this camera in my bag, I remove the lens hood like this. I bought a separate cap, 67mm lens cap, put it on, and I transport the camera like that. So those 4 issues, they're not huge. The LCD screen is probably the biggest thing, but really, I am in love with this camera. It does everything I wanted to do for my events, for my work, and so far, no problems with this camera in any of the shooting conditions I put it through. Highly recommend this if you're out there looking for a camera for those kinds of shooting situations, scenarios. And now here's some test footage. This is Cine V picture profile.